You're watching/listening to Medium Talk, the show where we skip the small talk but still keep it short. And yes, I'm reading the script right now. I'm your host, Cole Nunley, and in this episode, I want to discuss the UC Berkeley protest that got a little bit out of hand this past Wednesday. With me, I have a UC Berkeley student. Her name is Kiley Charbonneau. Thanks very much for coming on the show, Kiley. It's much appreciated. So I've read my fair share of news articles on this event, but I think it's best if I let you explain it. So, Kiley, what happened?
Yeah, so a while ago, the school announced that Berkeley College Republicans, one of the student groups on campus, would be bringing Milo Yiannopoulos to speak. And he obviously is a pretty controversial figure. Many people here see a lot of his rhetoric as hate speech and as really violent speech towards groups that we represent on campus, particularly the LGBTQ community, as well as immigrants, undocumented students, etc. And so there kind of became this whole campus-wide debate about whether or not he should be able to speak here. And the argument was, free speech, he should be able to speak, but at the same time, if his speech can be classified as hate speech, then does free speech apply? Is it the responsibility of the campus to, keep that kind of speech off campus, or is it their responsibility to allow it? So a lot of people on both sides, but basically the campus allowed him to come. He was set to speak on Wednesday night, and then a protest was organized to stop that from happening. And originally it was a peaceful protest by Berkeley students. I think the most recent estimate was there were about 1,500 kids there. It was supposed to be a positive thing. It was supposed to be nonviolent. There was going to be it was a dance party, actually. It was the way it was advertised, yeah. And then what happened was, I want to say an hour or so into the protest, which was going fine, about 150 people showed up from surrounding areas, mostly from Oakland, I think, and they were Bloc protesters, which I don't know if you're familiar with. It's not a group; it's a tactic that people use where they dress all in black, they put masks on, and basically it's violent protest. And so once there were already police there, but they weren't really engaged. They weren't riot police; they were just cops kind of standing by. And the Bloc people basically started throwing fireworks at the cops, started throwing rocks at the cops, who responded with rubber bullets, tear gas, and then it kind of escalated from there, and windows were shattered, things were lit on fire. It was really crazy.
Right. So is Bloc, is that the name, Bloc? It's
Bloc, yeah.
Oh, okay. So are they like an organization, or is it just a movement, or what exactly are they?
Yeah, so it's actually not a specific organization. It's been around for like 30 years, and it's more of a tactic people all over the country will use.
Okay.
So Bloc was seen on Inauguration Day. I don't know if you saw the stories about one of the right-wing politicians who was punched in the face. That was actually a Bloc.
Weird.
I don't want to say member, because like I said, it's not an organization, but basically people all over the country will participate, where they'll gather a group together, they're all dressed in black, they'll all put masks on, and then that's considered the Bloc.
How do they organize these things? Is it like through social media? Like how did they get 130 people just to all riot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of social media. Also, the thing about, the Bay Area and Oakland in particular is that protesting is not something new to people. It's not new to Berkeley. We see it every day. So people are used to organizing groups like that. It happens all the time, most of the time through Facebook events.
So I've read like a lot of stuff, and obviously, we're in the era of headlines and, clickbait, but I've read a lot of stuff just kind of blatantly labeling UC Berkeley students as the culprit and all that. And I know from experience, I know the school I go to, Keene State College, had a riot a couple years back on Halloween. And that pretty much ruined the reputation of the college for a while, if not still. Yeah. And it was mostly, if not all, students from other colleges like the University of New Hampshire and Plymouth College. I mean, obviously there were Keene State students involved, but Keene State was kind of, labeled as this trashy school because, we had a massive riot. So I know how it is. I know how it must feel. It's pretty frustrating, but. So, what are things like after that? Are things pretty chill now, or?
No, there's a lot. There's kind of still a controversy on campus, basically between the students who condoned the violence and those who didn't.
Okay.
I would say the large majority did not.
Right.
certainly. And it is frustrating, like you said, because you see all these headlines, violent protests at UC Berkeley. And the thing is Berkeley's always going to have a reputation for protesting. That's something that we acknowledge and a lot of people are proud of. But the violent protest is kind of a whole new game, and it's sad because it gets all the attention, whereas a lot of people work really hard to keep that from happening. But there were a few kids who did join in on the violence and thought it was necessary. And actually, two of the people I live with were two of those people, two of my housemates who I'm very close to. Yeah, and so there's been a lot of tension the last few days. People trying to work that out and hammer out. People are still talking about, do you protest peacefully in the name of free speech and let him do his thing, or do you stop it at all costs, including violence? So I wouldn't say things have returned to normal. I think people are shaken up because they're not used to the violence, and they're also still trying to kind of work through that and see how they feel about it.
Right. Yeah, that's actually. I feel like there's more of these riots, these kind of events to come. Honestly, just because there's been a lot lately, and I think there's all this political tension and stuff is going to amount to something eventually.
Right.
But hopefully, young people can kind of take control of the situation and not give us all a bad rep, because it seems like college students kind of have this bad rep. I mean, I guess they always did, but especially now, I feel like we have this rep of either being idiots or complete snowflakes or whatever, but really we're just kind of trying to voice our ideas. So last question I have for you is, what are your thoughts on Milo Yiannopoulos? I mean, I don't want to get too political, but what are your thoughts? Do you think he should just be able to go to colleges and voice his opinion, or do you think there should be some restriction?
Well, so personally, I'm not a fan of his. I actually, before he came, I was really curious, and I watched several of his interviews, and my issue with him is I think that labeling him as just a right-wing guy is not fair to the right wing.
Right, yeah,
because
absolutely.
there's a lot about him that isn't really politically driven. He's kind of just a personally offensive human being.
He's kind of just a troll.
He is, and that's the thing, is he really wants a reaction out of people. So my take at first was just let him talk, because he wants us to protest. He wants to be able to illegitimize, the left by saying, look, they won't even listen to me. They're crazy. Look at them go. So really, I think he won in this situation. I don't know if you saw the video he released afterwards. I think that, in the name of free speech, I think he should be allowed to go do his thing.
Right.
I think that people who feel marginalized by his rhetoric can, have an alternative event during it. Go do something else. Don't give him the attention.
Right.
My problem with him falls in the way that he does his question and answer, because a lot of the response to people protesting, people that are critical of the protest, say, go listen to him speak and then raise your questions afterwards, then, fight him on it. But the way he runs his Q&A sessions is that you have to electrically submit your Q&A or your questions, and then he chooses which ones to answer.
Interesting.
And he never, ever, ever chooses ones that oppose him. He always chooses ones that, can you elaborate on this, things like that. So when he speaks, there really isn't an opportunity to oppose him, and I think he does marginalize a lot of people and insult a lot of people. That being said, I don't know if that's a reason to keep him from speaking. Am I disappointed that one of our organizations invited him to speak? Yeah, because I don't think that he deserves that. And I think, I don't think he has a place here on this campus. But that being said, once they invited him, I think he had every right to speak.
That seems to be, honestly, the popular opinion amongst, people I know. But, of course, I think... obviously, there's other opinions out there. Anyway, that pretty much does it. I kind of like to keep things short on this show. It's called Medium Talk. We skip the small talk, just get to the details. I don't like to do big, long 45-minute podcasts. That's not my thing.
Right.
But I want to thank you again, Kiley Charbonneau, UC Berkeley student. Thank you so much for coming on this show. This has been a Medium Talk episode. Keep creating.